not a SERS member? We had some of you this morning trying to sneak in. Also, maybe we'll have a fire drill like we did this morning. Huh? Oh. That was exciting. Some people did not come back after the fire drill. So. All right. George Spock, I'm with the State Employees Retirement System. Most of you should know me by now. See me around campus, hanging out. I have Chester County and Lancashire County. So if I speak in Amish, forgive me. I work up at Millersville now, so I'm trying to train them like I have everybody here trained in retirement. So, all right, I'm in Ben Salem, right by the casino. A lot of people like to come up and sign their papers and go ahead to the casino. I don't go there. I walk around once in a while, and all the buses from New York come in. So, all right, we're going to go over the introduction to SERS, retirement types, retirement formula, purchase of service, retirement benefits, and the option, taxes.
Hello.
How you doing? Steps towards retirement. I'm going to cover all these topics. SERS is a defined benefit plan under the IRS code. It's a 401A. Okay, so it's a formula that we use to calculate the benefit. Contributions and investment earnings do not affect the benefit. Okay, so no matter what the market's doing, no matter how much money you put in, it's always going to be calculated by a formula. So if the economy goes down, doesn't mean you're going to get less money. You're still going to get whatever the formula dictates. Three things about the formula that you consider: the final average salary, years of service, and age. Okay. Why it's important is the final average salary. The calculation is 2.5% times years of service times the final average salary. So if you increase the final average salary, you get a larger pension. Increasing the years of service, the longer you work, the higher the calculation would be. Okay. And age is superannuation age. If you do not have 35 years of service and you reach the age of 60, that's superannuation. There's no longer a penalty on your account. Okay. So before age 60, there's a penalty. Funding. There's three major sources of funding for the pension system. First is the members who contribute. We all contribute at a certain rate. People prior to January of 2011 for Class A service, which is military service, is 5%. Or people who did it like AA, it's 5%. AA, it's 6.25% of your gross salary. Agency's rate varies each year, so our actuaries will look at the pension fund, see how it's performing, and then they'll decide how much the agencies would have to pay to fund the system. At one point, back by 2001, before the fall of the towers, we were down to 0%. The agencies didn't have to put in because we're fully funded by the pension fund and by Wall Street and their investments. Now it's down quite a bit. If you've been reading and seeing the newspaper articles, and they've been saying how much the fund has taken a hit, and now it's coming back with the economy coming back. So that's the agencies make up the money that would be lost in the market. Okay, and the investment earnings, it's basically what we get off the market. So on Wall Street and our other investments, that's the bulk of the money where we make it, and it's part of the pension system. Right? So all of it together creates the whole fund itself.
George, are they still thinking of significantly increasing the agency contribution now? I know at your session last year, they were talking going as high as possibly 25%.
Yeah. Well, it all depends how the market does.
So if it rebounds a little bit, it may not be quite that bad.
Well, what happened is it rebounded a lot, and then last June, we had 6,600 and some people go by June because of the contract. Well, they projected 2,000, 1,800 or 2,000 go. Now you had over 4,000 more go. And since that happened, they didn't have that kind of fund. Well, then all the agencies had to pay out their annual sick and all that other money and our lump sum. So whatever money we made on the market was just going right back out in lump sums and everything else. So I think I don't know if we broke even or how much we made, but we didn't make the money we should have because we had to pay so much money out. So again, and right now when I was up at PennDOT, the guys at the PennDOT office, we just went through June, the contractor asked me, they're already looking down the road, like 4 years from now. I want to be prepared in case something else happens, or they take away sick leave, or they do this or this. I want to get ready to pull the plug. So, yeah. Different types of retirement: normal, early, and disability. Okay, we're going to cover all three. And let's start with normal. Normal retirement age is age 60 for all of us in here, unless somebody's in here is a officer, a police officer, campus police. State police, it's age 50 for them as well. Anybody with policing powers. So most of us is age 60, all right? You have at least 3 years of service or 35 at any age, okay? So 3 years at age 60, you're entitled to a pension. Vesting for us at AA is 5 years. The new people, normal retirement age is 65. We went from 60 to 65. Yeah. And then there's a calculation on top of that. It is, well, it's a minimum of 35 years of accredited service with a superannuation score of 92. Okay. And it is 65 for most members for the new people as of January 2011. They're not here, so don't tell them.
Yeah.
Keep it a secret.
Yeah.
10 years from now, they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I'll be retired. Early retirement, at any age under normal retirement age with at least 5 years of service. So you're vested with 5 years, and you can go and you receive the state pension. However, there's a penalty on it, so you're going to get a much smaller pension. Okay. Disability retirement. Now, if you're not able to take regular retirement and you're disabled, okay, physically, mentally, and you can't perform your job at the university, then you may want to look at disability retirement. And what you would do is contact me, and then I would calculate an disability estimate and a regular retirement estimate for you, let you decide which way you want to go, and then I would counsel you on what a disability would give you. There's no penalty with a disability, but you can't take your lump sum out. But it's an option, because with the disability, you get the majority paid health care. Okay. What you need to do is, I'd send you all the information, and you talk to me, and I'd say, listen, you need to get the medical forms. I'm sending you medical forms. You want to get a copy of the job description from either your supervisor or from HR, and you get that job description. You would get my medical forms and a pamphlet, give it to your physician, and he would complete the medical forms, give it back to you to give to me when we need to sign the papers. It is a long process. It's longer than regular retirement because you have to call me, get the information, go to your doctor, get the medical information from him, then meet with me, sign the papers, and then we either approve you or approve you temporary or permanent, or deny you. And then if you get the disability, then from that point you terminate from the university. And then from that point, we start calculating the pension. Whereas in a regular retirement, you tell me you're terminating, sign you up, you're terminated, and then we begin the process. So it's 8 to 10 weeks, usually from the date of termination, to pay your pension. On a disability, you got to wait 3 to 4 weeks or longer until you get all the medical stuff in and sign, and they make the approval for disability, and then you terminate, and then we begin the payout process and calculate the pension. So it's a lot longer process. You must complete and file an application before you're terminated. You can't do it after you're terminated. So when they put you on leave with pay or leave without pay, you want to contact us whenever you're considering that, a disability. You don't want to wait till you're on leave without pay, without benefits, and oh my gosh, George, you know what, Vicki just did this to me. She took me on leave without pay, without benefits. I didn't know this was coming. And, you know, all these letters she sent you and all this stuff happens. You got to call me. I got to do the estimate. And then you're going to make a decision. You got to sign with her. They're giving me this much time before I'm terminated? Can you meet with me to sign the paperwork? Yes. And then, you sign it, and then it takes, again, that process till we approve you once you've got everything in, and then we work it up, and you terminate it, and then we begin the audit of the account. But you got to have it in before you're terminated. You want to contact Human Resource Department regarding health insurance. Now, if you were faculty, Vicki does the health insurance. If you're under AFSCME and in SERS, then I do the health insurance for you. Okay, and that's a percentage of how the contract states right now is 3% when you retire of your annual salary, or it's going to go to final average salary, or it has gone, but they haven't worked the calculation out yet and putting it on the system. So they're still working on that. They're doing it in phases because there's so many people active and retired, and they're getting to that. They're having problems with the computer system getting that on. The retirement formula. Final average salary times 2.5% times years of service. Now, when I started this 23 years ago, we had it all memorized. 2.5 times years of service times final average salary multiplied by the cost of a dollar annuity multiplied by the withdrawal factor. So it seems like a simple formula, but there's a lot more to this. All right, we simplify it to final average salary times 2.5 times years of service. This is for your non-state service or military service, 2%, we calculate that at, unless it's intervening. And that comes with the maximum single life annuity with no withdrawal contributions. Now, when this whole formula on the computer, it's more detailed, like I stated. Also, then we're looking at figures, especially for men prior to 83. There's sex distinct tables where women's tables were better than men's tables, and men sued, and men have, then they equalized the tables because no one likes to be better than the other group, and now they have it all straightened out. So there's a lot more. It's a lot more complicated than just the formula, and we have actual tables involved. And now the tables have been so accurate that we go by your date, by each date when you go to terminate, that we can calculate it by the date. Years ago, 10 years ago, when you say you wanted to name a grandchild or someone really young, we had to go by hand and calculate it and ask for the figures. Now the computer could do it. When they're born, they're on the system already. They have a date, an actual figure for that person, and they can do the whole calculation. So there's no gap anymore.
And what does non-state service?
Non-state service?
Are we all state employees?
Where up?
For the formula? Yeah.
This is like military service.
That's
And
all that
yeah, or if you're a faculty member and you had state service outside the state for another state. Other non-state service, yeah, if you were an administrator here, you had administrative time in another state, Virginia or New York or something like that. For most cases, it's military service. This is important though. The final average salary. It's the 3 highest sets of 4 consecutive quarters. Okay. The big thing, and when they had the freeze going on of overtime over at Cheney, everybody was worried about their salaries going down, final average salary. Your salary can go down, but your final average salary can never go down. Your final average salary always stays high. It can never go down. It can only go up. It can't go down. But that's what you want to work on in the formula. You can't change the 2.5%. That's a constant. Final average salary you can increase by working overtime if they allow overtime. Okay, and years of service by working longer each year. So every year you work, it's going up 2.5%. And as you get older, to the superannuation age of 60, the penalties get less, or 35 years of service. So that's the only way to increase the pension. Years of service. We credit your years of service by hours worked. So we go by 1,650 hours in a year equals 4-year accredited service. In most cases, that'll be by the 22nd pay in a year, in a calendar year. Okay? If you're working 75 hours bi-weekly. So, in reality, you could be off 2 months or more, sick, and without pay, and still get a full year accredited service for the pension. Now your final average salary may not be high because you offer 2 months without pay, but you're still going to get 1,650 hours in to equal your accredited service. This calculation changed on July 1st, 1976, when it used to be by 360 days in a year. So you can see why they did that, because if you went on just 1 day on leave without pay, you didn't get a full year accredited service. 3 days of strike time, we had to take it out. So now they went to 1,650 hours. So there's flex time in there. So okay, something happens, you're out without pay, you're not being punished, taking a full year away. But you can't earn more than a year in a year. So once you earn 1 year service, you get to the 1,650 hours. Just by working overtime doesn't give you a year and a half, 2 years of that. When I used to have Haverford before they closed, all these guys would work overtime. Well, I should get more credit time for that. You can. So once you have a year in, that's all you have. Now in your last year, and say you started, like the PennDOT guys this year, they didn't have much snow. But when they had the snow 2 years ago, when they started, they were making straight time, but then they had the overtime. So some of the guys made it like a full year credit service by June because they had so much overtime for plowing snow from being out around the clock plowing that they were able to get their full year credit time in by June when they left early. And that's when they made the 1,650 hours. They're working all the overtime, a time and a half. The other way to increase your service is by purchasing service. So you can increase it by working longer or buying other state time or buying military time. You want to purchase the service if you have it, and what I usually do is have you, when you contact me for it, then I send you a purchase service request form, you send it back to me. If it's service prior to 80 or 76, when they have the old records, then I send it back to Marlene, and Marlene, Service and Sorry Record, and Marlene will research it and get the hours and the money and all that. And then we'll put it in, and they'll calculate what your contribution rate would have been at that time and the interest since then, and they'll send you a bill. And then most people want to know, George is going to give me a bigger pension, then I'll work it up for you and show you with and without the purchase of service. I was telling the morning crew, I had a guy, this week I signed over at Thaddeus Stevens. He worked for PLCB. He had 6 years in, he was like 86, and he was a World War II vet. And he had, so we bought his time, it was like $4,000. It made his pension go down, not go up. So I double checked that. When a certain age and a certain amount of service, you have a little bit of service and you're older than 65, I got to double check it to make sure that doesn't cause your pension to go down. So and a lot of faculty, I'll check theirs to make sure that that doesn't have an effect, a negative effect on your account. And sometimes when the guy's really young, a person's really young, and they're 35, and they have like 6 years, and they go to buy 3 years in the military or some other time, and it reduces it because they're so young. You got to apply for your purchase of service while you're actively contributing. So you must be making contributions, must be getting paid. You can't be on leave without pay to be able to purchase service. The reason a lot of people buy it, and we tell them now, it used to be they used to buy it like 2 weeks before they terminate to buy it. You don't have to make the payroll deductions. Now we tell them to buy it sooner, and you have it on the system. When you do, it gives you a bigger present value, and you have a bigger death benefit. So in case something happens to you, your beneficiaries will get a much bigger pension, more money for them.
So is that like doing another deduction from your pay, or?
Well, we're going to go through all that. There'll be choices. There'll be a plethora of choices.
I'm sorry.
The only word I knew from grad school. Plethora. It's the only time I get to use it too.
Okay.
Purchase of service, previous state service, you have prior state service, maybe you worked here, maybe you worked at Emeryville, maybe you worked at the Vet Center, welfare, some other state agency. Military service, 5 years of non-intervening, and non-intervening is service prior to coming to the state. Intervening, you buy as much as you have in intervening service. You must have 3 years of state service to qualify, because we need the first 3 years to work up to purchase a military service. Anybody here with military? in the prior state, again, well, if you worked at welfare or some other state agency, we'll put it in and then we'll contact that agency in Harrisburg and they'll find your records and go through that. Now, one of the problems will be like Embryville now, their records are probably in Norristown, and they have to find them out at Norristown. Haverford, I think they went to Norristown as well. So our agency will then send it over to the agency that you work for and find out where it's at.
I don't know if any of you worked in other states, but I had gotten the application from George, and several years ago I was actually able to purchase 3 years of admissions experience from SUNY Rockport. So that's in New York. So that can sometimes work if it's a comparable type of position.
And did you put in there your job description when you were administrator here?
Yes.
Yeah, because you're the one, yeah.
Yep, it's the same kind of administrator.
Because when your coworkers put it in and didn't put in that they were an administrator, they just stated it and they wouldn't give it to them until you told them, put your copy of your job description in there so they know that, you know.
And so they approved and that's 3 years added to your total number of years of service, which adds to your pension.
And that's only for educational
Yes.
areas, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in PLCB, you couldn't buy that. The invoice, once we work it up, we'll send you a bill, and they break it out, and they're going to send you different options on the buy, okay? And then they're going to come up with the different options on the next screen. Lump sum payment. Now, if it's not that much, some people want to pay it off in a lump sum. Not many do. You have the payroll deductions from 1 to 6 years, and you'll decide at that time, well, maybe I want to start with, you could do a partial lump sum and just say I want to pay this off or that off. I had people who do payroll deductions and then decided they want to pay it off, you know, in a lump towards when they're halfway done, they'll do that. Or like most people do, they'll set it as an actuarial debt against the account, which means that you'll have this, we'll send you the bill, and in the second choice you can have it set as a debt that will come off your pension plan at the end. But what happens is because you buy the service, it gives you a much bigger account, and from the larger account we'll subtract the debt off it. So you still get more money monthly, you have no money coming out of your pocket, but you bought the service and get a bigger pension. Now a lot of people today, when I'm at PennDOT, a lot of the guys will ask, you know, they'll have money in an account and they're earning like 0.89% interest in the credit union. We pay 4% on our money. So right now some guys are deciding to pay into the system, buy it, pay it off, and get 4% of their money in. 4% compounded interest on their money. Multiple service. If you worked for public schools in this area and you started with the state, you can combine your public school time with your state pension. And what happens, you have 365 days from the day you start with the state to make that selection. Then when you do, we send it over to public schools, find out about your time, then they may have to bill you for that time, or you may have already had the time and just combine them together. But you have 365 days from the day you started. Under Act 9, you had to December 2003 to elect multiple service. If you, in the past, and you sit there and go, well, you know, I got the bill and I forgot about it, you can't go back and buy it unless you break service. If you terminate and you come back, then you're allowed to come back and try to buy it. You can buy it and put a request in to purchase it. I just had at the vet center a lot of people that got furloughed. I looked at them and they had accounts in there that they had public school time they could have bought, which may have given them a pension. So they refused, they didn't want to buy it. Anybody with public school time? Did you elect multiple service on that?
I don't know, that's why I'm here. I have it as qualified time on my statement.
Oh, then it's
Does that mean
then it's
I
there.
did?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Hey, George.
Yes.
State employees retirement system doesn't say PA state employees retirement system. Is this thing like nationwide?
No.
It's just specific to PA. So if I move to another state, and
They have their own.
I can still work
Yep.
there, because I understand there's like some places you can't work if you're catching a check from SERS, you can't do.
That's here in Pennsylvania.
Exactly.
If you move out of state, you can work wherever you want in another state and collect a
Okay.
pension. Some states allow you to buy out of state time. But, you know, with ours, you can't because you're getting a pension from it, but you want to check with that state. And I know like Florida allows you to buy up to so many years of out-of-state time, so it depends on the states. Yeah, this is just inside the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. If you worked here and then you went to Millersville and you couldn't, you have to go back into the system. Or if you were here and you went to Delaware, down to Delaware and worked for Delaware State, you can work for them, or University of Delaware.
George, if you got a pension from here though, and say you went to Millersville, you can work up to what, X number of days in a calendar year and not have it affect your pension?
And an emergency employment, 95 days.
95 days on an emergency sort of hiring and annuitant back.
Right, well they just had an article, it was funny that they had an article in the paper about that. In Harrisburg, out of like 1,600 people they called back, 485, some apply for, they come back, bring them back as an emergency, they get their pension, apply, then they apply for unemployment after they're let go after the 95 days. So then the one lady blew the whistle on.
Even though they're still getting their pension?
Well, you're still getting a pension, but
they applied for unemployment.
because they got terminated from their temporary position, which is allowable under state law. So,
But still, that's kind of...
so now they're looking at changing the law. But if they change the law for that, then all the emergency energy assistants and all these other lifeguards and all that have left, or people that pick up seasonal jobs that were banking on unemployment to get them to the next job, it'll be gone. So yeah, well, that's a, you know, it's a whole. You read those articles, they send us these blocks of articles, and it's kind of crazy.
I hadn't even thought that people would think to go for unemployment after they were let go after their 95 days.
Oh yeah.
Knowing they're getting a full pension. Oh well.
What they do is they use that pension, they use it in a formula for unemployment, and reduce your unemployment, but give it to you for a longer period of time. Or maybe reduce it to zero, depending how much you're getting. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what it said in the article in the paper.
Mm-hmm.
Statements. Everybody got their statements? Yeah. We mail them annually. When you become an annuitant, you get your annuitant statements in January, but active members get theirs in March. Okay. So when you go to retire, you'll get one in January. So don't expect one in March. It shows accumulated deductions, contributions, interest earned, credit service, and final average salary. Gives you an estimate of your death benefits and retirement benefits, and lists your principal beneficiaries. This is what we get the most calls on, is beneficiaries. People, especially new people who started, never filled out their Benny forms. And then if you haven't filled one out in a long time, they take yours off and they just leave it blank, even though it's probably still current. And you just fill a new one out, and next year it'll be on. Or some people put one on, put a beneficiary on in December, but the system already, by the 15th, they've already shut down, and all the information's in already, and they do it after the fact, so it won't show up until next year. So, they're pretty accurate. A lot of guys brought them in this morning, we went over individually one-on-one. One of the biggest reminders we have to do, especially at PennDOT, is to keep your addresses and beneficiary information up to date. At PennDOT, I got to remind the guys to take their moms off and put their wives on. They don't like, you know, they just forget to do that. They get married. And then when they die, their mom's got it, and they don't like the wife. So, especially if your kids change address, or you change address, most people have direct deposit when you retire. You forget to change your addresses of your kids, or even your address. And, oh, George, my check, I didn't get my mailing, my year-end statement in January. Well, where are you at? Florida. Well, we have Westchester. Well, I moved. I got direct deposit, didn't I change? Did I still get it? Yeah, you get direct deposit. However, we don't know where your new address is. And all this you can do online on our website. You can print off a change of address, beneficiary form, and you get an annuitant beneficiary form, and you can change that. Just get 2 witnesses on it, send it in. Don't make any errors.
A change of address, do you, can you do that before you actually find that address?
You can print it off, put your new address, or write a letter saying, as of this date, I'm moving. This is my old address, and my new address will be this date.
Can you do that online, or?
You can print one off online and then mail it in.
Okay.
Yeah. decision time. When it comes down to this time and you're ready to retire, you got to ask yourself certain questions. Contributions, do you want to take your contributions out or leave them in? If you leave your contributions in, you're going to get a higher monthly annuity. If you take them out, you can have them pay to you minus 20%, or you can roll them over to your IRA, or you can take them out in 4 installments. Then you got to figure out which monthly option do you want. You know, what one works for you. How much money you need to live on. Do you need a lifetime annuity? The max, the highest monthly? Do you need a option 1 or a joint survivor taking care of somebody else?
George, can I go back to where you said if you withdraw and interest, you said minus 20%. What's
Right.
the minus 20%?
Federal taxes. If
Oh,
it's paid to you,
gotcha.
you're going to take 20% off. We're going to take 20% off because the IRS tells us.
Gotcha.
We'll pull 20%
Because you adjust
off.
that through your annuity, the monthly.
Well,
already,
on
but
the,
we're
on
taking
the,
that
on the
out.
monthly, no. On the monthly, we're going to ask you how you want to claim it.
I
On the
see.
monthly. But on the
Okay.
lump sum, we must take 20% off if
Okay.
paid to you.
Gotcha.
Then you're going to have to, if it's paid to you, you're going to add that as income you're going to receive it as well. So if you're in a higher
If you've
bracket,
taken the 20% off already, unless you're in a higher bracket. And if
Right.
you're in a higher bracket, you'll end up owing some.
Right,
But
because
at
you-
least you've taken some of it out already.
right, that was the big discussion this morning, was that, you know, when they had the buyout out of here, that a lot of people were going in August. Well, they left in August, they got their annual, they worked. I mean, some people had worked a lot of overtime. You know, people have already gone in June, they had a lot of overtime. They had annual sick leave payout, they had, and they're taking their lump sum. They may have had over 200,000 in earnings, you know, and the buyout on top of that, it's a lot of money.
That's why you get a deferred compensation plan, right?
You get a deferred comp, you roll your lump sum over.
Yeah.
Or you plan to go, well, that time you had no choice, you had to go by June
Yeah.
or August or sometime, or already. Or if now, you could decide to go in the beginning of the new year, like in January. And your income for that new year will be because you'll be on a lower monthly pension.
Yeah.
And that money that was paid you will be paid in that new year. Withdrawal contributions, do you want a lump sum? How much do you want to withdraw? Because you could change it. I give you those figures. It's, taking no money out or taking it all out. You decide, well, I don't need to take it all out. I want to leave more money in and get a higher monthly. You could vary that.
Oh, so you can adjust it. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing.
Right, it doesn't have to be all
Okay.
You could decide, I am going to leave this money because I need X amount of money to live on, and this gets me to where I want to be, and then I can take
The rest
$20,000 out to pay my bills off or whatever.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do I want to use the installments? Okay, you can take your money up into 4 installments. Do I want to roll the money over? Who do I want to roll the money over with? A couple things you don't ask me is, who should I roll my money over with? Should I use installments? People come to me, I can't tell you what to do. I cannot. That's up to you. You know your situation better than me. You must decide how you want your money out, if you need it out. The monthly payments. And then once you decide to leave your money in or take it out, then you got to decide which option you want to choose. All right. Depending upon what information you give me, I may work up 2 options for you or 4 options. Max option 1 for the individual, max to the highest. Option 1, death benefits to balance the account. 2 and 3 survivor options, taking care of somebody else. Do you need to leave a death benefit? Maybe you have life insurance, I don't know. How's my health and that of my survivor? If I die first, how much income will my survivor need? And do I have life insurance or other investments? And you're going to have all that between you and your spouse, decide, or talk to your financial planner, what you have, what you owe, all that other stuff, and then decide the options which you're going to choose. A lot of guys come in, guys and people, to say, well, what should I do? What's the best for me? And again, I can't tell you what to do, and I won't, because it's, it's your decision. Best thing I can tell you is get all your information from Social Security, talk to personnel, deferred comp, all that information, estimates from us, and then make your estate plan. So you contact me for an estimate, and that'll break down. You'll give me a date. And that's the funniest thing is like, oh, I need to know what I'm going to get, George. Okay, well, give me a date of retirement. Well, as soon as you tell me how much I'm going to get, then I'll give you a date. Well, I need a date to give you the monthly because it's based on the date of termination. But a lot of people want to see the money first and then give me a date. Well, then you give me a different date and it turns into different money. So, yes.
Can't you do that with the calculator online? You put in any date there is and it tells you what you'll get.
And that's pretty accurate, isn't it?
Yeah.
That calculator online? Because that's
Yeah.
great.
It is. That's the best thing SERS has done since I've been here.
Yeah.
Except hire you.
Yeah. Well, I usually do, instead of you doing it, I do it. And I sit there and I have 100 other people I'm doing, so I just calculate. Now, I may take a little more time and know the exact page you're getting and a little bit like that. But no, it won't be much different.
It's amazing how much too, 6 months can adjust what you may take home or time of year. Or,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I was trying different variations.
By
It's
the
quite
quarters.
interesting.
By the quarters, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And it all depends what, again, you know what you're making now, and if you got some overtime, that makes a big difference. You get
Years of
those
service,
criteria.
if you're just going to
Yeah.
get a new year of service, then that can totally
Oh,
adjust.
yeah. This is the first choice, first option, is the max single life annuity, which is the highest monthly you get. Again, under all the options, you can either leave the money in or take the money out. If you leave the money in, you're going to get the higher monthly. If you take any of your lump sum out, it's going to be reduced. It's going to be a little bit less. Provides a max amount for life, so you're going to get, on all the options, under all of them, you'll receive the pension for life. You will, as the member, receive the pension for as long as you live. It depends what option you choose, what happens upon your death, what happens to the rest of the money. The death benefit in this case is the remaining balance of your accumulated deductions, your contributions and interest. Okay? Now, if you draw your money out, well, then there's nothing to be paid to anybody because you took your money out. If you leave it in, then whatever's left, that's gone usually within 3 years. You may name more than one person as the beneficiary, or it can be a person, a place, or a thing. That's what a beneficiary can be. Okay? And what I mean by thing, it can be your estate, your trust, your cat. It happens. Dog. Cat would be better than dog.
My parrots need it. They live longer than
The turtle, they live
Well, I
forever.
have 2 parrots and a tortoise, so.
Yeah, one of those parrots, they live forever too.
Does that affect how much you get if you give it to a tortoise that's going to live?
It's just the option one, the balance of the benefit.
Pick on me, Joe. You know me and my zoo.
Option one is based on your life expectancy, so the death benefit is the balance of your account, your present value. So if you leave your money in and the state's money's in there, that's the whole present value. Each month that we pay you, we'll subtract that from the present value, and upon your death, anything left of that will be paid to the beneficiaries. Usually 9 to 15 years, around there, it'll be gone. Okay. If you take your money out, you can take your money out, which reduces your monthly, keeps it around the same 9, 14 years, 9 to 15 years.
For your beneficiary.
Right.
You get it for life.
You get it for life. Always get it for life, yes. Again, you may name more than one person as a beneficiary, or it could be a person, place, or thing. Some people name their estates to create trusts as well. Option 2 is a survivor option. So it's based on your age and sex and your survivor's age and sex. So that's when I ask you, do you have a survivor? Give me that survivor's date of birth and sex. And then I'll add that into the calculation and create the option 2 figures. So that, therefore, when you receive the monthly, when your monthly's there, upon your death, that survivor will receive the same monthly that you're receiving for the rest of their life. So you get it for as long as you live, then when you pass, they get it for as long as they live. It can only be one person. Okay. If that person predeceases you, you can name another survivor or pick another option. That's through death, divorce, or remarriage. I had a lady up in Lancaster. She divorced her husband, put her brother on, and by the time I got it, she was remarrying her husband again. 6
Same
months.
husband.
Yep, same husband. Old Beck's husband. Remarried. And then her figures went up because they were all older. So that was pretty funny. I go, how'd she get more? I might have to do that with my wife. All right. Upon the death of so the member receives the monthly and passes, and the survivor receives it monthly and then passes, then it stops. So if there's any money left in the account, it goes back to the state. Or if you both die simultaneously. Okay, so if you're your survivor and you're in a car accident, you both die, then anything left of that account in the present value will revert back to the state of Pennsylvania. All right. Option 3, survivor option, the same as option 2. However, you're going to get a little more, and the survivor's going to get 1/2 of what you're getting. Again, through death, divorce, or remarriage, you could change death of the survivor. You could change the option or name another survivor. In this case, the survivor receives 1/2 of what the member's getting. So the member receives a higher monthly. They pass. The survivor receives 1/2 of what the member was getting, and when the survivor dies, then it stops. Okay. Now, under the option 2 and 3, something happens to your survivor. You call me. I ask you if you want to name another survivor, and some people do. Some people say no. Then I just work up the figures. I update the figures, show you what they've changed to, and then you decide whether you want to do nothing or pick another option. Now, if you don't like a combination of the options we give you, you can create your own option or special option for it. You design your own program. You can work something up, give it to me, put it in writing, I submit it to my office, who submits it down to our actuary in DC, who then certifies it and sends it back to our office. Then our office will decide whether they'll approve it or not. Now, some of the special options, I can work them up for you. If you decided, instead of giving your spouse 1/2 of what you're getting, I can make it 75% of what you're getting, or 25%, or a certain percentage, whatever you want. 33 1/3%, I can work that up. Also, if you're looking to create something, the survivor's benefit cannot be greater than 1.5 times the annuity payable to the member. So there are limits. You can't give them a lot more. You'd get less, and they get a lot more. There's limits on that. And again, if it's something really special, you want to name 2 survivors or 3 survivors, and have 3 kids, I want each to get $100. You have to put that in writing, and then we submit it. And they'll decide whether to approve it or not. It takes a while. If you're going to create your own, and you're thinking, this is going to be, I want to do something really special, you can, but something like that's going to take a while before it goes to us, to legal, to the actuaries, and back to legal. You know how fast attorneys work. Tax-free contributions. Anybody with contributions prior to January 1983, you've already paid taxes on those, you don't owe taxes. Purchase of service prior to it's really 86. You have January 87, that's already been taxed. After that, they gave it a safe harbor ruling. So we're under the tax code. If you had bought some service after post-1987, that was with post-tax dollars. You've already paid taxes on it, and they give you a tax break for the life of the annuity. So say you paid $4,000 for military or some prior state service, and you paid it with post-tax dollars. You're going to take that $4,000 divided by a certain number, and a small portion of your monthly is not going to be considered taxable. And they break that all in the initial letter to you. That's what they're going to do. Because you paid money on that money on the purchase of service as of January 1987. Taxable contributions and interest. If the lump sum's paid to you, they'll take 20% for federal withholding right off the top. If you're under the age of 55, you owe another 10%. We don't take it off. You got to adjust on your own for the 10% excise tax. Okay? And also, you'd have to add it as income the year you receive it. So if you pay this money out to you in this year, you've worked so far, say you go to retire in June, you've worked for June, you got your lump sum paid out, plus maybe you're getting some from deferred comp or your other IRAs, you have to add all that income together. All we're looking at is your lump sum, 20%, and then off your monthly, we'll ask you how you want to withhold. When you do your taxes in January, or you get your 1099-Rs and your W-2s, then you're going to see all your income from working, and that's a lot of money. So that may put you in a higher bracket. On your lump sum that's taxable, you can roll over to qualified plan, then that defers your taxes. And you'll receive a 1099-R at the end of the year, telling you with the code on it, I think it's a G code, to let you know that that's been rolled over. You don't have to owe any taxes on that. Also, it avoids a 10% early retirement tax as well, if you roll it over. Now, if you're 56 and you roll it over, now the 10% excise tax is 59.5 under the IRA holding, IRA tax penalty. Taxes on monthly benefit is subject to federal, no state or local or city due in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. If you decide to move outside the Commonwealth, you want to check with that state or territory to make sure what the taxes are due on that. You don't want to be out there saying, well, Pennsylvania told me I don't owe taxes. You move to Delaware, you owe taxes.
George, the federal income tax, you know on our statement where it shows what our monthly payment would be, that is pre-tax, or is that
Pre-tax.
with an assumption that there's, that's pre-tax?
That's
So
before anything, and even healthcare.
Okay, so then what we would do is when we work with you on retirement and select, like I want to claim one dependent, whatever, it's just like getting a paycheck.
Right.
Then that'll be removed with our actual check that we get.
Right, and when you do your calculations to do your estimates,
Yes.
the next thing below that is federal withholding. You can click that and just put
And
your
it'll
monthly in
show
that.
you what,
Yep.
it will kind of give you a net that you're going
Yep.
to get every month.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha,
Yep.
okay.
Well, it'll tell you how much you're going to withhold from it, so then you can take your gross amount, subtract that, and then your
Minus.
cost of healthcare, which is going to be 3% of your final average salary. So I don't know if
Okay.
you're under AFSCME, yeah.
Gotcha.
Steps to retirement, run to retirement now. You'd call me, my extension is 3606. I would work up an estimate for you. You probably want to do it 90 days prior. Some people, look, it's just, these are just general rules, but if you're not sure what you're doing, you may need more than 90 days, it may be 180 or whatever. There are people at certain institutions that see one every year, even though they get a year-end statement. They want me to work them up one, and they may walk with me and talk with me once a year just to keep up on it and ask questions. When you call me and ask for an estimate, I'll ask you for a date. You know, when do you want to go? I work up the figures for you. Again, I need a date, and usually you give me a date. Well, I want to go Monday, July 1st. Well, not going to work that. You got to go on a pay. You should go on a pay date, and you should go on end of a quarter. And the discussion earlier was about, well, I'm thinking of going the end of the year, and at the universities you get that week off between Christmas and New Year's, so you may want to go the week after, you know, the next pay after January, 1st or something like that. Or if you don't, you miss the Christmas pay. We're debating all that. And then other people are carrying the maximum leave. The guys in PennDOT decide to go the first pay in April because that's when you can carry the max over. So they do that. And so when the person's here goes, that's a good idea. I want to do that. So and it all depends on your situation, what you're looking at. Maybe we get a pay raise. Those who weren't asking me, I think we get a pay raise in July. Is there a pay raise coming up, or one of them, or something? So you got that pay raise. So maybe you were deciding to go in August. You may want to wait till September to get the whole quarter with the pay raise, or wait till the end of December. Maybe that'll increase your FAS more and give you a bigger pension. You have to look at all that. But then when I don't make those dates for you. When you call me, it's like, I want to look at this date. And we had a guy this morning call, could you give me, this is my birthday, and this is, should I stay the whole quarter? Well, let me work both up, and let me show you if it's worth it for you to stay. Maybe it's a $5 difference, and it's not worth it to stay per month, Where you could be retired, enjoying yourself for the holidays, versus hanging around and, them keep dumping more work on you, in the busy season, or so. Usually, estimates we mail to your home in 2 to 3 weeks. I'm usually much quicker than that. What I did was go through my box this morning and found some guys from PennDOT last week. I was thinking, what are they doing in here? Thought I cleaned them out. I got a few of the guys, like 2 guys who do estimates. I usually get them done if I call in. Like I've been busy the last 3 weeks, but if I get in and I get your call, I'll usually do that right then on the spot and send it out. Okay, once you get your estimate packet, you call me to schedule a counseling session. This is like your 90 days out. You call me, I did your estimate, you got it, you reviewed it, you decide, okay, I want to sign. So you're going the end of June, we want to get together the end of May. We want you to get to 30 days prior to your termination to get together, sign the paperwork. Well, that gives you time, get everything together, we've met, bring your proofs of birth, bring all your forms. But if you forget something, you still got those 30-day period to get something in. And a lot of people, well, that was left in my safety deposit box, or I left that in my drawer, or at home, or, I needed my kid's address, I don't know, they just moved, so then you have to call them up and get that. Especially when you're in the counseling session, you call them, they're never home, You must have your proof of birth documents. I make a copy of them and give them back to you. I just had a guy up at Millersville who's from Puerto Rico. We couldn't use his birth certificates because they had to redo all theirs. So I'll have to get a proof of birth from him yet. You want to have that before you meet me. You want to have that all together. Come to the meeting, have yours, your survivors, if you're going to do that. Take option 2 or 3. I have it. I'll give you back the originals and make photocopies. We're good to go. And that's why I usually meet at the HR Service Center. Some people don't like to meet. We don't have to meet there, but I like to meet there because we have access to the copier, access to witnesses. And Vicki and I just she'll remind you to contact me. And I said, well, you met me. Did you call Vicki? Because if you don't get your account released from Westchester, then we can't pay your pension. So you want to get your annual sick leave going and all that. So it's sort of like a symbiotic relationship where one has to get the other one's information. And sure, I could say nothing to her, but then you got to sign your papers, and then nothing happens because you didn't do something at the university level. Rollover forms, you want to bring your direct deposit form because we're not in the Sheehy system, so you'd have to get a completed rollover form and a direct deposit form, especially a direct deposit form if you want to keep your direct deposit. On the direct deposit form, the first check will be mailed to the house, the second check will be mailed to the house, and they'll test the wire to the bank. The third check will go direct deposit. Rollover, when we go to pay you out, the rollover form, if it's completed, we'll send the rollover right to your financial institution. Okay. So you want all that completed by your institutions. Make sure it's correct. Check your codes on your rollover and direct deposit form. I had a bank here in Westchester that I got a nasty voicemail from her and the member, and found out, she goes, well, you put the wrong code on the bottom of the box. I go, well, I don't do that. It says financial institution, it was you. And she goes, oh, I put the wrong code in. So it was going to the wrong account. And she goes, well, can you fix it? And I told her, no. You're going to have to get a new form in and fax it to me and fix it. And then I called the member and told them that it was her fault, not my fault. So, yeah. And then bringing your information, that's about the hardest part of this. When you go to retire, people forget to bring stuff. Your rollover form, direct deposit form, your beneficiaries' address and names and dates of birth, and doing health care, to bring the social security numbers of your spouse. Date of marriage, you know that, for men, just for men. Just the men have a problem with that. Payment information. First check is retroactive. It takes 8 to 12 weeks. We've been moving pretty quick. They've been paying out faster than that. Again, first check is retroactive. Second check, again, will be mailed to the house. First check. Second check will be mailed to the house. Third check, direct deposit. I may repeat that a couple times because everybody calls me on the second check. I had direct deposit. You didn't direct deposit it. It doesn't come. It's going to be mailed to the house. Third check's direct deposit. All checks are issued on the last working day of each month, and that changes each month. We're going to send you a calendar when you get before your first check comes and let you know this is the calendar for the following checks. It's always going to be on the last working day of each month, and that changes each month. Okay. We have other people go, no, it's this, it's like Social Security. No, we're not like Social Security. It'll change each month. And we strongly encourage it, and it's important because most people move and forget. Tell us they move, but at least the direct deposits go in there. You may not get your mailings, but at least you'll get your checks deposited. Well, I brought pamphlets. I'll give you a handbook. Well, this is a member handbook, but I give you, well, now the handbooks are gone. I don't have any more left in there. I give you a guide. Every time you request an estimate, I'll send you a guide. Sometimes I send you more than, you may request 2 in a year, and I don't remember it. I don't write it down. I'll send you a second guide of retirement. It has a lot of information in there. Our website, a lot of good information. The calculators in there, how to do your taxes. If you need to pull up, print off forms, you can print a change of address. You can do all kinds of stuff on the website. And once you go on there, on the next one, you can go and check your account. You can view your current account. Your annual statements are online. If you need to print off a statement of income because you're looking for a loan, or you're looking, some banks want you to say, how much you're getting on a monthly basis. That's online. You just print it off instead of trying to reach me. Like, you know how many calls I'm getting today that I'm here, year-end statements are out. Well, where were you? I was here at Westchester doing a presentation. Well, how come you're not in the office? I need to find out who my beneficiary is. Well, you could have went online and checked. It's all on there. So we do, you should go on and get the custom calculator and have an account on. Me, I go home, I'm done for the day with the computer, so, My wife does all that. Any questions? And we have Lori Johnson here, but she's my coworker. This was mine, and she took mine and put her name on it, and I took it back, and I forgot to change her name. I did change it on the paperwork, but I didn't save it. Any questions? Yes?
I've worked at SSI for like 7 years, and then I left for 6 months, and then I came back to the university.
Mm-hmm.
So that 6-month period, I can purchase that?
The time you weren't working?
Well, I guess I wasn't with the state agency. So,
Right.
yeah.
You claim by the time that you were compensated for working for the state. Yeah.
Lisa, were you enrolled in SERS at SSI?
Yeah, we had it there.
Yeah, if you're rolling SSI and you had SERS, you took that money out, you can buy that time back.
Right, but I just kept it all in there.
Right, yeah,
all
you,
week
yeah,
till I
yeah,
retired here.
yeah. And then just transfer right over with you then. Yep.
But you also have to look at the dates on that too, when you came in, because we want to make sure that counts for your pension, but we want to look at your benefit eligibility for those years too.
When I get ready to change my address, I will be leaving like the last day that I'm working here, and the first 2 checks will be going to that address. How do I get that address changed to you? Do I get a change of address form and give it to you to include in the paperwork? Do I send you an email?
When you do the paperwork, we can either change the address prior and have it changed on the application, and that'll take care of it.
Okay.
Or I can just give you a change of address at that time and sign it, and then later when you fill it out and send it in, it'll change the address. And because the first check's, like I said, we retroactive mail to the house, so you want it to just go to the new address, right?
Yeah.
So we can just
I
change
won't be
it.
at the old address ever again.
Yeah, so we should change it.
I
You should
leave.
forward
I'm
your-
done here Friday. I leave Saturday.
So yeah, so
Plus
you,
you're forwarding your mail, right?
Yeah, there it
So-
is.
so
Well, I
our
got
mail
to
won't
I do
forward.
that at the.
Ours won't forward.
Yeah.
So you want, before, when we go to sign, call me and make sure I put, we'll put the new one instead of crossing it all out.
I'll send you a lot
We'll
of
put
emails.
the, yeah, just send it
You're
out.
tired of hearing
Just
me.
send it in, give me that and your phone number, and then I'll put it all in, so that when we meet, it'll all be done, and you just sign it.
Yeah, the phone number will still say the change is the same because it's just the cell, but
Yeah.
the address is going to change.
Right.
I would like those checks in Colorado.
Colorado, did you say? Nice.
So I have a guy from PLCB in Chester, he went to California. He's right outside LA, so.